everybody, and welcome once again to another fine episode of Bill Has Opinions, where the opinions are made up and the beers don't matter. I am Laura Lavoie. I am Mission Control for today's episode, and I am joined by Bill Perkins, who is from space.
Yeah, I'll be playing the part of Major Tom.
Exactly. We'll talk about that later in the show too. But sure. How are you today, Bill?
I'm good, and a happy International Women's Day to you and all the ladies watching.
Thank you. I'm so glad that women get one whole day.
Yeah, it's great, right? They were playing I didn't realize it until halfway home what the deal was, but like the radio station was only playing female artists today. And it took me halfway home to realize it wasn't just like some weird rock block or something. You know, I was like, I know what's going on. You know, very cool.
I suppose I appreciate their effort, right? Like, right.
Yeah, it's an effort, I guess.
I guess. Let's work on like actual legislation that protects women and girls in the U.S. Let's do that.
The ASCAP will be sending those ladies 75% of the check they're due, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. No, what is the actual percentage? I don't remember. I work for myself, so I don't pay enough attention to that.
I see. Do you think you get 7 or whatever it is percent?
7. I don't know. I think that I can set my own rates, so I can do whatever I damn well please.
Okay.
I only give myself 75 cents on the dollar at the end of the day, so just to make it feel like I'm solidarity with other American working women.
Help them being repressed, right?
Exactly. Not that I'm trying to make light of it because it is a huge problem.
No, it's serious. I'm not trying to make light of it either. I'm trying to use comedy to shed light on it.
Precisely what I do. But that is of course not the theme of our show.
No,
I think it would be weird if we had a show about women. We're going to talk about women,
though, so that's a thing, right?
That's true. We are going to talk about space, but in the meantime, we should first share with our viewers, hi out there, viewer, what we're drinking. What do you have going on there?
I have got a hold on a minute. I'm trying to remember who it was by. It is I had it yesterday too, and I wrote it down yesterday, or put it on Untappd rather. That's what I'm fiddling with here.
Good thing you have a little pocket computing device to tell you.
Oh, okay, so it's got a long name. It's by Highwire, and it's Lemon Drop Session Sour Ale.
All right.
And so it's kind of, it's like a the Lemon Space Dog, which is a lemon pilsner by ABC. This one's like that, but a little more tart, but it's not tart enough to be a goze yet. It's like it's going there. It's a little more tart than a lemon pilsner, but All
right.
I'm about done with it. That was my pregame, and then I've got a pilsner, which I forgot what brewery that was because I didn't read the board long enough before I came over here. I just thought there was a pilsner, and so then I came over here and I asked Emily, "Hey, will you bring me a pilsner?" After I'd started drinking this. So
now you have a pilsner,
some local pilsner from a a brewery in the Western North Carolina area.
That's reasonable. So I tasked Matt, my beer shopper, yesterday with he went out to the store to get some beer, and I said, bring me something that tastes like spring because it's spring, goddammit. I know it's not technically yet. Well, it is, depending on the calendar you look at. But he brought me a Bright Day Coming, which I thought was very effective. So it is a hazy India Pale Ale.
Who is that by?
It's Three Taverns, which is my favorite local brewery right down the road here, which I will miss very much when we move back. But, it will be my pain will be calmed by the fact that there are so many breweries in Asheville that I will quickly forget that I miss the 3 breweries that are near me.
I gotcha. I mean, provided you can find beers that are in the same milieu as the ones that you were enjoying, right?
Yes, and I like IPAs, so I know that because IPAs, people brew the fuck out of those because it just seems to be a very popular choice.
IPAs, you say? I don't know if I've heard of this.
I don't know. Is that a little too niche? But then after that, I've got another Captain Dynamite, which I had last week too.
But you could get that here.
Yes, you can, because New Belgium is there.
It's there, yeah.
Oh,
you can get 101 different beers, and they're all called Voodoo Ranger.
That's true. Yeah, no, they've got like 2 lines of beer, because Fat Tire used to be a beer, just the name of a beer, but now they've got like a Fat Tire line, and the same is true of Voodoo Ranger. Like, it used to be just their IPA, and now they have 75 different Voodoo Rangers. Right.
And Citradelic, that's another thing. They've got a whole line of Citradelics now that have different citrus flavors.
Yep. So, but as it turns out in Michigan, it is almost 60 degrees. Yay, Jay. I'm very happy for you. For one whole day, it was warm. So
we've been having the thing where it's like really cold at night, but it's spring by the middle of the afternoon, like
right.
If you go out at 3, you're like, woo, hey, it's nice. But as soon as the sun goes down, you're like, brr.
Yeah. No, that's the same in Atlanta. I went out this morning to pick up groceries at like 8 a.m. and it was still pretty chilly, but it's like 70 degrees out there right now. So
yeah. But give it an hour and it'll be
once the sun goes down, it will not be.
Yeah.
So anyway. But hey, I am grateful that I live where there is a place that I can go outside most of the year. Like, I've been able to go outside most of the summer.
Right.
Especially this year of all years. So, or most of the winter, I mean. But anyway, I go outside a lot. Actually, I don't go outside that often, as Matt will tell you. I'm perfectly happy to hermit inside, but I can go outside if I want to.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the important part. So, however, we do have a whole show for you today that's not just about the weather and the beers we're drinking, as it turns out. And this week we are talking about outer space. So, what do you? I know you've got some opinions on the basics of outer space. So, just give us a little monologue.
Space, the final frontier. These are the opinions of Bill. To seek out new topics and shit on them.
Well, you did some preparation for this show. Nice.
Yeah, space, huh? I'm trying to think how to start really though. Like let's see, my past with space, it goes back to the first time I looked up in the sky. I don't know. I don't know. I got some opinions about space. I just don't know how to begin on it.
So what was do you have an earliest space memory, whether it's astronomy or like NASA or any of that?
You know what? It was probably my first set of space Legos. Early 1980s. Lego had the space line of Lego Land toys, right?
Right.
When they came out with the first minifigures.
Right.
Featuring the little spaceman who would have the broken helmet eventually, like in the movie, I got one of those sets, and then I bought all the space sets, or I didn't buy them. Somebody bought them for me, but I liked them a lot and played with those. And I liked, I liked sci-fi, Star Wars. I guess that was a thing. That was a thing prior to the Legos, probably. I guess Star Wars, right?
Yeah, I suppose. It's funny. Star Wars to me, it takes place in quote space, but it's not really about space. Like that's what I always thought interesting about Star Wars.
Yeah. It's not. It's the least spacey of all the sci-fis, really, isn't it?
Yeah, like there's nothing about it other than the fact that it takes place on multiple planets and you use, interplanetary travel to get there. It's not like Star Trek, which was specifically about space exploration. Right.
Yeah. So, and my earliest, I'm trying to think about my earliest interaction with NASA was probably, I guess, when they, because they launched the shuttle program, in 80? 81, somewhere around there. I can't remember exactly. I should have done some research for today's show. I didn't do any.
Hey, but you made the little joke with the music, so
yeah, that was all the prep work I did today. I don't know. Anyway, the space shuttle program, that I was really excited about that. That was neat, I mean, because that came about when we were children.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a cool idea, this reusable spacecraft that, went up and came down until it didn't. And then, and then it didn't again. And then, and then they scrapped it at that second juncture. But of course, I remember being, in fifth grade when the first shuttle blew up on launch.
Yeah. No, that's, it's funny when people say about the historic events of where you were when certain things happened, affect your entire. And that was the first historic event that I remembered exactly where I was and exactly what was happening. And I was in the Girl Scouts at the time, and the Girl Scouts of America, not just my troop, was they did a time capsule that was supposed to go up in the Challenger and come back down and then be buried and then dug up 20, 50 years later. So my Girl Scout troop was pulled out from our classes to watch the Challenger. We were pulled into it, we all got, and then we watched it, and then we were traumatized because it done blew up. So our little time capsule blew up with it. So also the first space shuttle's flight, hey, timely because it is spring, April 12th, 1981.
All right. I knew it was sometime in the early 80s. I couldn't remember exactly when. But I do know also that when you watch the intro to Buck Rogers, that he was also a space shuttle pilot, and his space shuttle got lost, and he was frozen in space until he was thawed out centuries later.
Right.
And he returned to New Chicago to hang out with robots or whatever the heck. I don't know. That's a corny.
I mean, it's no Duck Dodgers, but it's reasonable, I suppose.
But yeah, I was when the shuttle program was a thing, it was very captivating, and I do remember being very excited about it. I've never been to Florida to watch a launch or anything though, unfortunately. So
near where they launched, but I've never actually seen a launch. I've seen the Space Coast. I've just never been there when they're launching.
Yeah, no, I drove past it a couple weeks ago on the way back home from my trip, and had something been going on. Well, I mean, I was kind of in a rush because at that point, it's that part of the trip where you're just going home, so I wouldn't have had time to really enjoy it. Anyway.
You're like, look, kids, Space Coast, and then you just keep going.
Yeah, but I do. I mean, I've been to many air and space museum over my years, and have seen the space shuttles and other space things, rockets and landers and things at these different museums over the years, and always am captivated by that whole idea. You know what's crazy to me? Speaking of that kind of thing, that Sputnik was like the size of a damn basketball, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. Like that little thing, and they just put it up there, and it scared the hell out of everybody in America. A little silver basketball floating around in low orbit,
Right? We were so worried. Yeah. This turns out not as big a threat as we thought. Other things more threatening than that.
Yeah. So the whole idea of space exploration, though, I do find fascinating. I will say this: I don't think we've done enough with it. I kind of feel like we've sort of, I don't know, we sort of put it around. Like it's you know what it's like a guy who's got like miniature trains in his basement almost. It's like that. We're space hobbyists at best, right?
Yeah, I mean, but we recently created Space Force, so we're one step ahead, aren't we?
I guess there's that. We're heading towards something, warfare in space, which is something.
What that is, we don't know, but we're heading towards something.
Yeah, yeah. So Space Force, that'll be great. My biggest beef with the Space Force is, and I've read other. I mean, it's not just my beef. Other people have talked about it too. They're mad because the Air Force uses the same ranking as the Army does, right? Because it was at one point the Army Air Corps, and people are aggravated because Space Force then is basically like an offshoot now of the Air Force, and so they're going to use also Army ranking, which means they won't have captains of spacecraft, right?
Right.
Where they should have used naval ranking for Space Force.
That's fair. If we learned anything from Star Trek, if we learned anything from the United Federation of Planets, that should have been the thing we learned.
Right.
That it's more of a Navy than it is an Air Force.
Exactly. It's a Navy that sails across the sea of space. That's
exactly.
So that's a bit of a disappointment. And and so I mean, how does that even work? So if they make Space Force, if they have ships, I mean, so what is the guy who's
the guy who drives the ship?
What's his deal? What's he called? I mean, I'm trying to remember. A naval captain is equal to a Army colonel or something, right? Is that?
Sure. I don't remember if.
I feel like that's about the equivalent. Whereas I mean, the Army has captains, but a captain is just above a lieutenant. It's not a very high ranking officer. I don't know.
Right. It's not the guy in charge. It's not Jean-Luc Picard. It's not that guy. Yeah. It's not William Shatner.
I feel like it's colonel that's equivalent. So it's dumb to me that they're going to have a colonel, controlling the ship or whatever. Yeah,
it does not seem right. I'm with you there.
I don't like it.
the funniest thing was, so Space Force, right? We all collectively as a country thought this is a ridiculous joke, right? This is hilarious. And we were watching the Super Bowl this year, and at the beginning of the Super Bowl, they do all the fanfare and everything, and they have the color guard, from every, and they had all of the U.S. military flag bearers and Space Force.
They already had a Space Force.
The first time I remembered that was a thing.
You were like, oh yeah, that.
So I was dying. I'm like, oh my God, and they this is legit. Like, Space Force is legit. But it's still a big freaking joke, I have to say.
Yeah. I mean, is anybody enrolled in Space Force yet? Like, can you sign up yet? I mean,
right. Like, are there Space Force recruiters?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, how's this all working? Like, is it just a stupid idea on paper? Like,
Yeah, exactly. And I think that remains to be seen. But I also love the fact that after, the Super Bowl, of course, early February, after political transitions happened, I was just not expecting Space Force because I thought that was just kind of a funny thing that they did. And they're like, we're just going to let you do that. And then we're going to pretend it never happened. But apparently they did.
No, yeah. Then Biden was like, yeah, I think we'll keep the Space Force. Why not?
Why not?
Why not? Sounds fun. Let's do it.
I mean, in truth, it is fun. Like, I think
sleeping with porn stars and Space Force were the two best things that the previous president did. And if you had told me that there would be a president that would start a Space Force and sleep with porn stars, and I wouldn't like him, I'd have been like, "You're out of your mind."
On that note, we should probably take care of some business here.
Might as well.
All right. So this is unrelated to any of that, really. Okay. We're not promoting anybody that is in Space Force or affiliated with the prior administration. Today, we actually want to suggest that you get involved in some local to us, charity work, the Pop Project. And also, I am not much of a graphic designer, therefore I should have made that easier to read, but it's popproject.org, which I think you can extrapolate by the fact that it's called the Pop Project, which is, what the Pop Project is an organization that accepts donated books and distributes them to places that need them. So schools, prisons, anywhere that doesn't have access to books. So they collect books and pass them on to people who need them. So it's a really, really cool organization in the Asheville area. They do book drives from time to time. They do book sales from time to time. And of course, they will always accept money from people who want to give it to them. So I suggest you check out the popproject.org and learn more about them. And that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, that's a really good one. That was a surprise to me. You hadn't talked to me earlier today, so I want to give a shout out because our friend Jimmy is that was one of his big things, the Pop Project, and I keep meaning I need to get up with Jimmy sometime soon because I've got Jimmy's also a scholar of Thomas Wolfe and the Fitzgeralds also, and I've got some Fitzgerald items to get to Jimmy. So
nice.
Yeah. So anyway,
that is not the show, but we could have they could have a whole show about Asheville history, like 1920s Asheville history. Because I actually maybe we'll get Ginny on the show and just say that.
I was like, why would we put around on it when we can get Ginny on here?
We would not. But I'm actually working on a creative project that I need to know more about the 1920s, 1930s in Asheville. And I knew that the person to talk to would be Jimmy McKenzie. So we should actually do that. I'm putting that out there right now, live on air. So
you'll remember to do it.
So we'll remember to do that. If I ever watch these back, then I would know. But that being said, let's get back to space. And I have some other things on a list. Wait, so we briefly talked about this, and I only want to do this because it is the only opportunity we'll have to play this the entire show. Okay. But space travel. You got space travel. You've got the early astronauts. And I just have to give a little shout out to the Midwest's space son, John Glenn.
Oh, yeah.
Because he came from the Midwest.
He totally did.
And that's
there. It's funny because North Carolina and Ohio arm wrestle about flight because the Wright brothers are from Ohio, but they flew in North Carolina. But then Ohio also has John Glenn, so they kind of have a better flight credentials, if you want to say.
Sure.
Where's that guy Yeager from? He's he's a big deal. You know what I'm talking about? The guy who flew the supersonic jet. I
do, and I don't know where he's from.
And he didn't go to outer space, to my knowledge, but he did. We wouldn't be in outer space without supersonic flight. So there's a thing, right?
Let's see. Chuck Yeager, amazing. I have a little device where I can look this stuff up any time that I want to.
Yes.
Oh, he's from West Virginia.
That's right on the border between the South and the Midwest.
It really is. It really is.
Okay. Where was I going? I was just thinking about the supersonic flight. That made me think about something.
Wait real quick, Jay. I knew this and I forgot about it. That John Glenn was not the only Ohioan. Therefore, someone else is. So, just had to point that out there. All right. So I interrupted you to play our fancy graphic. So
yes, because everybody loves that graphic.
I actually get requests for it sometimes.
Yes. So no, now you made me forget my train of thought. I was trying to move on from
Chuck Yeager, supersonic flight.
Yeah. Oh, it was some other piece of technology or something that was involved in space. Here's what it was. I watched some really good YouTube videos recently. Well, not recently, but in the last year or so. It was this early guy. I can't remember his name now, sadly. I wish I'd remembered. But this dude, he had done this thing. They were doing all these experiments because they didn't know before they went to space, like, what will happen to a person in space, like all this kind of crazy stuff. And this one guy, I think he was a pilot, but they would put him on a those those weather balloons that can float all the way up to the stratosphere. So they
Right.
strap a chair or a little booth or something to the bottom of a bunch of weather balloons, right? And he put on what was essentially going to become a spacesuit, and he was transported up to the stratosphere. And when he got to the point where where it turns black, then he was supposed to, he bails, right? He jumps out and parachutes back to Earth. And they actually film the whole thing. It's crazy. You can find it on the internet somewhere. This guy basically going all the way up to the edge of space, the very edge, like right where, it stops being blue skies and starts being black skies, and then whoosh, bails out. Apparently, the first time they went to do it, they didn't get his glove locked on right. And he was aware of it, but he didn't say anything because he didn't want him to cancel the operation.
Right.
Because he was worried that if they did that, then they would get like somebody else. You know what I mean? Like he was like, he would miss his opportunity. He wanted to be the guy who did this thing, right?
Right.
So he just did it anyway. And his hand, like, apparently swole all up. That might be, I think that's probably right, Jay.
Yes, Joe Kittinger, apparently. Yeah.
But his hand swole all up, because you're not supposed to go to outer space without your glove fitted.
I mean, as a general rule.
But he was okay eventually. It just it was a temporary setback. But he still got to do the thing, and he got his name on the thing, as being the guy who went to the edge of outer space.
Right.
So that's a pretty cool. But they filmed the whole thing. That's what's awesome about it. To watch it happen is pretty crazy. Like the idea of it, man. Going like when you see somebody approach the edge of the stratosphere and then step off of a thing and drop back.
No, thank you. Like I couldn't even fathom. I can't like that freak. I cannot do heights. We talked about this on our phobia show, even though like I don't call it a phobia. It's not so much that I have this debilitating fear, but I still like I'm not going to put myself in a position where I am bungee jumping or skydiving. Clearly, I am not the person they're going to send into the stratosphere anyway. But it just sounds awful.
Yeah. So I'll say this, but when I watch stuff like that, and when I don't know, the whole idea of space travel and space exploration is very fascinating to me. And for a bit of my life, I was very into the whole idea. Like I was like, oh, you know what? When they start like getting people to want to move to Mars or whatever, I'm down. I'm so. And now, the older you get, the more like hesitant I get about the whole thing. Because now at this point in my life, of course, if I was to go to Mars, I'd probably be like, I'd have to die on Mars, right?
Sure.
I mean, first off, I don't think they're promising round trips yet anyway. But secondly, the older you get, the more likely it is if you go, you shouldn't come back because your bones are going to get brittle and you're going to get, unacclimated to the Earth's gravity or whatever. And
yeah, so. No, I suppose in that instance, like we're not at that stage yet. Like when we have Star Trek level travel, where we have all the comforts of home on a Enterprise style ship, then maybe. But right now, there's a lot of unknowns, and I think there's a window. Like, sure, when I was in my 20s, I probably wouldn't have. But when I was in my 20s, I'd be like, sure, I'll go to space. But now I'm like, nah, I ain't got time for that.
That's kind of where I'm at. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When I was younger, I thought it was a cool idea. And the older I get, the less of a cool idea it is to me. I mean, I'm glad somebody wants to do it, I guess. And I think it's a great – I'm not trying to naysay, like, the idea of it happening altogether. It's not for me, I guess.
Oh, and somebody will do it. And obviously now we're talking about space tourism. Like this isn't even a hypothetical anymore. Like space tourism is likely going to happen.
Yeah, no, people have got the tickets already. They're just waiting for the plane to take off, right?
Right. Jay, on the other hand, he'd still go.
Okay. That's nice. Yeah.
I mean, he can do that. And then, Matt also wants to ride in the weather balloons. So
he would get on that weather balloon.
Apparently,
the weather balloon, while scary, is less a little less scary because you're coming back.
Yeah, though, are you? Like, are you really?
You pull the cord, you're coming back. You know.
I don't know. Like, I think that's not even just like a. That's no.
Come back quickly.
No, no. I would like my feet to remain on terra firma. Thank you, Amy. I agree. No, thank you. It's not for me.
Yeah.
Not for me. Although I've been recently told, because during the pandemic, so the way I deal with stress is by hermiting. So I simply just don't leave the house. If I'm stressed out, I'm just like, no, I'm good right here in my cocoon. I'm fine. I have no need to leave the house. I can leave the house once a week, not even that often. I do sometimes, but I don't have to, which apparently would make me a key, really good at space travel, because I'd be in a ship and I'm not going to feel stir crazy in a ship.
That's another thing about me. I realize that about me is like, I'm going to go nuts for not being able to do other things. You know, like I'm going to be that person who's just going to like get space fever and kill everybody on the ship.
Which that's a movie right there.
Yeah. No, they're not going to let me go. They're going to do the psych eval, and they're going to go, this guy likes to socialize and go do things too much. Like he's not a good candidate.
He's not. He's just not. So yeah, I think there's a huge difference between space travel as we know it right now, which is, sending astronauts to the International Space Station, privatized space travel, like Elon Musk and all that, and the hope for space tourism in the next few years, which I do think is coming. There's a far cry from that to the idealized world of Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek, which I'm on board with. Like, if that were space travel.
Oh yeah, that kind of space travel. Everybody, I think, a lot of people could get on board with. Anybody who would get on a ship or a plane would be down for that, I would believe. But
it would be 3 years of Bill Has Opinions is what space travel would be. If you were on that ship.
Hey guys, why is space ice cream so bad? Like, why even bother? Why even call it ice cream? It's totally not ice cream. It's some free crap.
So, fun fact, Dipping Dots, which was supposed to be the ice cream of the future, right?
Yeah.
Apparently, because of their cutting-edge refrigeration system, like, that's actually beneficial in the COVID-19 vaccine transportation.
Oh, is that right?
Honest God, Dipping Dots has saved the world.
Are they putting the vaccines now in the Dippin' Dots?
I don't know that they're just like renting Dipping Dots trucks, but it's the technology that allows them to stay more viable longer. So yeah, if you had told me that Dipping Dots would be like the point between life and death, I wouldn't have believed you. But
that's crazy. But yeah,
turns out it is.
That's awesome. Actually, I think Dippin' Dots is closer to ice cream though than the dehydrated.
Well, it is, because it will melt if you hold it in your hand, like it starts to melt.
A, it's still cold. B, it's still creamy. So therefore, it is still ice cream. Whereas space, whatever astronaut ice cream is just god awful. Like you bought it at the Space Museum when you were a kid because it was like a novelty, but it's awful. Like it's not worth bothering with.
So, fun story, when Matt was working as a manager in IT, one year for Christmas, his employees bought him a bunch of astronaut ice cream for the holidays because Matt likes it.
Matt actually likes astronaut ice cream.
Well, not in like this is sustainable food, but this is an interesting novelty that I could experience.
Yeah, it's an interesting novelty in the way that like going to the Asian market and buying a packet of jellyfish is an interesting novelty.
There are a lot of really good things.
When I say jellyfish, I don't mean Swedish fish. I mean actual jellyfish.
Not Swedish fish. But see, Tang also, the drink of the astronauts.
Well, Tang is the okayest of orange flavored drinks.
I distinctly remember once when I was probably a preteen or something, and I was digging in the back of the cabinets for something in the house I grew up in, and I found a container of Tang that had probably been there since I was born, and I had no idea it was there. I found it in the back of a cupboard, and I'm like, I should try this, and I made myself some Tang. And it was, I don't know if it was the fact that Tang was, 15 years old or if it's just Tang, but it was literally the most disgusting thing I'd ever drank.
I don't know, man. I'll say this. For all of its faults, it's better than Sunny D. Okay?
I never drank that. I know that was a thing, but I never drank it. My parents were Kool-Aid people. Well, my mom was a Kool-Aid person.
Kool-Aid's better. Kool-Aid's better than Tang, but Tang is better than Sunny D. Which I think Sunny D actually has juice in it, but it's got it's just awful. It's like, I don't know. Tang, I will say, a friend of mine who is in he is in a band, is the band, whatever,
right?
Like, the band is whatever person is playing drums and him. Okay, so but the band is called Swearing at Motorists, also from Ohio, by the way.
Hey, wait. Nope, you can't continue. Right, there we go. Now you can continue.
Swearing at Motorists from Ohio. Dave Doman is the singer-songwriter of that.
Wait, what's his name?
Dave Doman?
Oh, no, I knew a guy in high school named Gabe Doman who was in a bunch of bands. So I got scared for a second. Okay, sorry. So Dave Doman, he invented a drink called the John Glenn, which is vodka and Tang. Oh God, that sounds both awesome and awful.
Right?
No bar is selling that.
Oh no, it's something he will ask for, I think, sometimes, and maybe he has to bring his own Ziploc bag of Tang with in order to order it.
I'd like some vodka straight up, please. And then you pull out the little scoop spoon, and you do a little scoop, and you dump it in, and then you stir it around, because you have that little scoop spoon in it.
Yeah, and then they're like, "What are you drinking?" And you're like, "Oh, I call it a John Glenn." Yeah.
And they're like, "But we're the bartenders here. Can you please leave?" Yeah. So we need to take things down a notch real quick, because you had mentioned the guy that went up into the stratosphere.
Yeah.
Right? That was America's attempt at creating space safe technology.
Right.
I think we owe it to a certain dog to mention that the Russians had a very different way of testing space.
Yeah, different approach. Yes.
Yes, and I think it was
what we might best describe as a devil may care approach to.
Yes. So unfortunately for a lot of people, Laika, the dog, has faded into the annals of time. But I think that her memory needs to be brought to the forefront, because she was, for all intents and purposes, one of the first beings in space. And the Russians were just like, let's see what happens if we shoot a dog into space.
Sure. And not just the dog, but, she was the first of many animals that the Russians. We sent a monkey. But did we send our monkey and just let him die, or did we bring our monkey back?
Actually, that's a question for someone who researches while I'm on the show. But because I don't remember, and my entire memory of the U.S. sending a monkey to space is totally tied up in that movie with Matthew Broderick called something with an X Factor, X something.
Experiment X, I think.
Yes, Experiment X. I have no recollection of the actual history, just that Matthew Broderick was in a movie where they taught monkeys how to be fighter pilots.
They taught them to be a pilot because they were trying to find out in Experiment X. They wanted to know how long after you were irradiated, how long could the pilot continue to fly and bomb the enemy after he had been exposed to
Yes.
nuclear radiation. And so basically they put the monkey in this
Project X. That's what it was called. Thank you, J. Higgs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they'd irradiate the monkey, and then he would, they teach him to fly first. Then one day they would do it, and they would irradiate him during the flight, and they would see how long he stayed awake and alive to fulfill his mission.
And the basic message of Project X was that a human couldn't do the same thing as a chimp trained to fly a fighter jet, because a human would know it happened to them and would suddenly act differently.
Right. Yeah.
I'm with you, Jay, right there. I remember that movie very much. Like, that movie had a huge impact on me when I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
But Laika, which of course the beer that you referenced earlier, Lemon Space Dog, is actually named for Laika. The Russians were just like, let's send a dog to space, and there was no consideration that they would bring this dog back. They just stuck her in a shuttle, set her up there. Technically, she's still there.
I guess so, yeah.
She's just orbiting our planet forever.
What did we find out about our monkey? Did we bring our monkey back or no?
Yes, Jay says they came back, and Matt says 32 non-human primates were sent into space, but none more than once. So some of them came back, yeah. So not all of them came back. So it is a very sad, space exploration has a depressing side to it, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually 100% certain, whether or not they've ever admitted it, that there's probably a handful of Russian cosmonauts, human cosmonauts, that also went to space and never came back.
That are probably still orbiting the planet.
That are floating around out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't think they gave a crap. The Russians, this is the funny thing, they were so paranoid of us, how we would land our things in the ocean and go retrieve them. They were so paranoid of us knowing what they were doing that they would land their shit back in the middle of Asia. Okay?
Impact with the ground.
It would hit the ground, exactly. Sometimes it would break the astronauts' legs, and they would have to flop out of the damn capsule afterwards, because that's how paranoid they were of us gleaning any. Yeah.
Yeah, and yes, Albert, one of our monkeys, or chimps, perhaps. I actually don't know whether it was a monkey or chimp, but the first, or a monkey or an ape. But Albert. So let's remember Albert, and he did not survive his trip, much like Laika. Yeah, but I want to bring up because there's an interesting history because people have been fascinated by space for a very long time, like as far back as the Greek philosophers and probably earlier. Music has there's a lot of space music.
Sure, yeah.
And one of my favorites,
for instance.
Yeah. And he was a rhesus macaque. So knowing that is good. A rhesus macaque. I mean, they're adorable. Like, you can feed them sometimes when you're somewhere, like Japan. They're all over the place. But anyway, one of my favorite musical artists, Jonathan Colton, who is a sort of a geek artist, has a song called Space Doggity, which is the story of Laika, and it's in the style of Space Oddity. It is not an uplifting song, but it's a good song, but it'll make you cry. Is
the Tori Amos song Space Dog also about Laika, or is that just...
what? I don't know. Even though I was a Tori girl back in the day, I don't know if that was... I don't know the story behind that song. She probably explained it in concert once, but I don't know.
Let's also throw out a shout to an accidental animal that died for space exploration, the space bat.
Oh, yes, the space bat.
Yes. Now, this one was not purposefully sent to outer space, but the space bat was a...
I did not say racist macaque. Just for the record, I did not say racist.
Well, it's best he never came back if that's how he felt.
It's true. I'll send all the racists to space and just let them die. That's fine.
Good day, sir.
We don't need you here. We don't need any racist macaques.
Anyway, back to the space bat.
Space bat.
Space bat was a bat, and I don't know which species of bat, but he attached himself to the outer side of the the big fuel rocket part of the space shuttle, and I guess refused to let go when it took off.
Yeah.
And so for all we know, he went to outer space, and of course without a suit, so he's probably still there.
There is, I can't remember the artist, but some artist did a Space Bat song. You can find it if you search it on YouTube. There is a song about the Space Bat.
Yeah.
It's worth listening to for sure.
Yeah, I think I've listened to it once before because I was very fascinated by the idea of the Space Bat for a while.
I do love the bat was just like, fuck you, I'm holding on. Here I go.
Yeah, I'm going to outer space, folks.
That bat, I believe, if I recall correctly, the song is really like the bat had a dream, and the dream was to go to space. So I'm gonna have to go find it. We'll post it in the comments below later on.
Yeah, maybe he just had enough of this, and he was just like, let's go see something different.
Maybe he was angry at all the racist macaques. He's like, fuck you, racist monkeys.
I'm out of
space.
I'm just going to go someplace else. Although he didn't hear that there were racist macaques up there, too.
As it turns out, all the macaques that were already in space were racist. So, but I think that does bring us, and actually, I'm going to do a feature that we normally do later in the show right now. Because we had a mailbag question.
Oh, okay.
All right, songs about space. So tell me, which is definitively better, Rocket Man or Space Oddity? So Rocket Man by Elton John or Space Oddity by David Bowie?
As much as I like Bowie, I got to say Rocket Man, I think it's just a catchier tune, really, It just is. And if you've ever heard the Shatner version of it.
Yes, I have.
Send it, it's like a whole other thing. Like I said, I do love me some Bowie. And now Bowie had a lot of space songs, obviously. There's a Starman waiting in the sky.
Yeah, spiders from the Ziggy Stardust and the spiders from Mars.
He was all about some space. He was in a movie called The Man Who Fell from Space. Which was you should go see. I will say this about it. It's very slow by modern space movie standards, but
sure. Well, yeah, by modern, but if you look back at some older space movies, like 2001: A Space Odyssey, that's a lot.
It's kind of slow, but I do love that movie too. That's a very good movie. It's a more realistic movie about space exploration and about our place in the universe, kind of.
And the rise of the machines.
That, yes. And you know what my favorite, oh my God. So my favorite quote from 2001, it goes like this.
Is that a racist macaque?
No, it's from the beginning of 2001.
I know.
The first act.
But maybe it is a racist macaque and we just don't know it.
Could be. I don't speak monkey. Apologies to anyone out there who does.
Yeah, I hope that wasn't racist. That is seriously not what we're about here. So, and of course, we could talk. I mean, we actually only have a few more minutes, but we could talk millions of other movies, right? We've talked a bit about Star Trek, which obviously is I believe, the foremost franchise of space shows.
Well, certainly because it's the most hopeful, and it sheds a positive light on space exploration. Whereas there's lots of other things about space, but they're not always so positive. I think that's why Star Trek, I think, captivates us, because it's about possibilities and like I said, a certain hopefulness, not just about space, but about our future also. Because in that timeline, we've overcome all of our shortcomings as human beings, and we've managed to come together as a whole planet to do a thing that's bigger than us, and then we've united with other races from other planets to do the same thing, and and I don't know, everybody's needs are met. Just so it's hopeful in that regard, right? And I think that's why it maybe holds such high esteem there's other space sci-fis that we all enjoy, but they're not quite as altruistic as
right.
you
And
know.
Star Trek did actually, like, we've created technology, scientists, real scientists, have created technology based on some of the ideals of Star Trek. So it gave us these concepts that people have actually run with.
No, I read an article this week that they were actually making great strides on warp drive technology, which at the point when they managed that, then the thing
what's happening. The Vulcans are coming.
Yeah, the Vulcans will come and then they'll be like, man, this is cool that you did this, but when are you going to stop with all the nonsense?
When can you not be assholes? Like, because maybe the Vulcans won't come. So, like, even if we do get warp technology, they're going to look at us and be like, nah.
No, they're going to be like, we're going to have to do some spies over there to sabotage their warp technology because we don't need them coming to other planets.
Yeah, no kidding. They do need to keep us away from people. So I have to mention this, and I only just thought of this, but a couple months ago, we're all at home for the pandemic. We have not been to movie theaters. We decided we wanted to watch a movie at home, and we're like, what if I Googled some movies that were like, these are movies that were popular in the last couple of years. And I stumbled across the movie Ad Astra, which stars Brad Pitt and Tommy Lee Jones. And we watched this movie, and we watched the entire movie. But I am here to tell you right now, don't do that. It was literally the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
It's not good.
No. I don't know what actually happened. I have no idea what happened. But it appears they were like, we have Brad Pitt, we have Tommy Lee Jones. Let's make them do things in space in a weird, it's not even not linear, in a weird, like something happens and then action, and then nothing, and then action. And none of it makes sense. It's really bad. Do not watch this movie. Ad Astra, do not watch it. Or do, if you want to.
Okay. I mean, last space movie I watched. The last space movie I watched was Gravity, I think. That was the last space. And then we started watching the series, The Expanse, and watched the first season or two. But so my wife actually has an aversion to space. She does not like the idea of, the not being able to breathe, I guess, is mostly. Sure. Some of it's the claustrophobia of being on a ship or being in a space station, and some of it's the if something gets breached that you die. It's.
I mean, that's a fear.
Yeah. So we watched. I don't. It's funny because the couple of sci-fi shows that take place in space, like they have a lot of space, that I've ever convinced her to. Like I remember having to convince her to watch Battlestar Galactica years ago, and my pitch was, well, it's not really about space. That's just the setting. It's about people. They just happen to live in space.
No, I agree with that because I would Battlestar Galactica for me is a lot more like, well, it happens to take place in space. It's like Star Wars, which is not. It happens to take place in space, but that's not the focus of the show.
Right. So, yeah.
All right. But wait, so we really are running out of time.
Okay.
So is there any more important space information you want to get out to the listening public? What do our fans need to know about space?
Well, that nobody can hear you scream there. I think I've heard that. The most important thing.
That's fair. That's fair. Which is, if you want to send your enemies.
Why we sent them racist macaques?
That's why we sent them there. That's where we should send all the people that.
Fox News. We should send it down.
No shit. Like, I'm here for that. 100%. Well, speaking of which, and we will probably get back to space in the future, there are several things we didn't talk about. that would technically be under that umbrella, such as astronomy, the planets, UFOs. We'll probably revisit this topic again in the future in various forms. So just like we do a lot of other topics that we promised we would follow up on that we didn't, we will eventually in the future.
Not just astronomy, but also astrology.
Oh, yes. Actually, that's a loaded topic right there.
Right? There's a whole other thing.
That is a whole other thing. That being said, I do know that we have
cosmetologists.
No, that's a different thing altogether. We do have things that are extra this week.
Okay.
And Bill, I think I actually brought this one to the table, but would you like to start out?
Yeah, so Laura asked me to speak about this particular issue, and it's a kind of a combined issue because there's been two big, well, I don't know how big they really are, because from my perspective, they're not that big a deal either way. But there are people who've apparently decided that in the last week that the two biggest things facing society today are whether or not Mr. Potato Head has a gender, and whether or not we're allowed to read racist Dr. Seuss books. I know the macaques are in favor of them.
They are. They really are.
But especially if I ran the zoo. That's one of the ones the macaques just love.
As it turns out, yes.
It's pertinent to their interests, but also it's got some racist cartoons. So they're all about it. That's actually, surprisingly, one of the ones I used to own as a child was If I Ran the Zoo.
We didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, I probably had a handful of racist books when I was a kid because I don't know why, because they made a lot of racist books, I remember having copies of Little Black Sambo also when I was a child. But anywho, yeah, so the funny thing is everybody's like crying and screaming and hand-wringing over this Dr. Seuss thing. Like, oh my God, they're canceling Dr. Seuss. Nobody's canceling Dr. Seuss except the Seuss people. Like, they decided this is whoever owns the rights to Dr. Seuss now.
Which involves the family of Dr. Seuss. So it's their legacy.
Okay, I don't know. I didn't realize they actually had any family left. I thought it was just a.
Well, it's a corporation that was based on. It was the family. Okay,
so anyhows, though, they were like, hey, it doesn't really behoove. First off, they're probably not moving any units of these stupid racist books. So that's part of it. And then secondly, they don't want to tarnish the entire brand. So they're just like, you know what? We can lose these 6 books out of, I don't know how many.
Hundreds. Yeah. However many there are.
Books. We cannot make these 6 anymore. And it'd make us feel more comfortable. It's entirely a business decision. It's exactly like the decision Ford made when they decided not to make the Pinto anymore. Nobody complains that the Pinto got canceled. Oh my God, why did they cancel the Pinto? Oh, I can't drive a Pinto anymore. Oh, you can drive a Pinto. Turns out you just have to go out on Craigslist or Facebook and find yourself an old fucking Pinto and purchase it. And you may drive it until the wheels fall off, which they will pretty soon.
Exactly. No, that's the thing. People are throwing around the banned books and the cancel culture with this bullshit, and that is legit bullshit. It is totally. This is no different than Disney making the choice not to release Song of the South from the vault. Right. They realized Song of the South was problematic, and this isn't new. Like, this has been decades. Disney was like, we are not doing that. That is exactly what the Dr. Seuss organization is doing. And that's not banning shit.
Nobody's keeping
literally just a business decision.
If you want to drool over the damn racist cartoons and If I Ran the Zoo, you can go down to your local library. You probably don't even own a library card if you're the kind of person who's upset about this. But conceivably, you could go to the library and you could take out a library card first and foremost because you don't have one. And then you could ask, where are the racist Dr. Seuss books? And then that'll put you on a list at the library of people to like watch out for, and probably call the FBI about. But anyway, then you can check out If I Ran the Zoo or It Happened on Mulberry Street, and you can flip through and you go, ooh, look at these caricatures of people who are a different color than me. Oh, and you can have a delicious time if that's your thing. Here's the funny thing to me. I had no idea that prior to this, and I'm also going back to the potato head thing, which also was another one of those fake outrage things. Because so anyway, there's not a Mr. Potato Head or a Mrs. Potato Head. They're changing the brand. The overall like package name is now going to be called Potato Head. That's the name of the line of toys. There's still Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head, and
right.
which I don't care one way or the other. I mean, if they decided they were going to go like genderless on Potato Head, and they just wanted to be like, hey, and here's formerly Mr. Potato Head, now Mrs. Potato Head, I'd be okay with that too, because I don't give a shit. But who knew that the gender of toy potatoes and the enjoyment of nonsense word rhyming was so crucial to the enjoyment of this particular group of people, who are
right
now outraged.
Yeah.
It's just mind-boggling to me. So I don't know. The point of this rant here is to say, first off, nothing's being canceled. You can enjoy your stupid nonsense all you want. You just have to go out and seek and find it. I understand now that these 5 books are going for record amounts on eBay. Yeah,
I was going to say that if you want these books, go pay like premium prices for them, because they haven't been banned. They're still available. Now they're just really expensive.
I'm actually curious as to whether or not anyone's actually getting $400 for this book, or whether they've just listed it at $400. That's another thing.
That remains to be seen. We can track this if we wanted to, but
yeah. Do anyone actually sell for that? Because that'd be crazy to me that you are so wrapped up in whether or not there's a racist rhyming nonsense book that you're willing to pay $400 to own one, or whether it's basically just fake outrage, which is what I assume it actually is.
It is legit fake outrage, like legit. Like, and yes. We talked about right before the show, and we often chat about random things. Like, because cancel culture, whatever, there are some things that we realized sucked when they happened, and we're now trying to say, hey, these sucked when they happened. And then there's the random, like, disavowing of things. If cancel culture is such a bad thing, right? You said this earlier. Yes. Why aren't country music stations playing the Dixie Chicks again?
Yeah. I ask all my listeners to go out there tomorrow, call your local country station, demand to hear Goodbye Earl. And when they tell you why they won't play it, I want you to say, hey, I thought we were aggravated with cancel culture.
Precisely.
And listen to them to backpedal about why that's not cancel culture, because that's exactly what you're going to hear is some backpedaling.
Correct. And when you do this, please screenshot and post that conversation on the internet with #OpinionGang.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I think we beat that horse pretty hard. It is dead. So I think we are done for the day. And I'll tell you everybody before I have Bill do our regular end of show close. Next week, I believe we're going to have a very special episode for you all where Bill and I will be in the same space.
When she says we're going to have a very special episode, it's the one where I'm on drugs.
Right, exactly. We're going to do an intervention and we're going to get Bill clean. No, next week, which is the 15th, is the day of our show. We are going to do our pre-St. Patrick's Day holiday special, and we are going to be in the same space. So prepare for shenanigans.
Yeah, shenanigans, I like to say.
You'd like to say. That being said, we will see you next week. And Bill, can you take us away?
Yes, these opinions of Bill are. Oh wait, I got ahead of myself. Sorry, Bill has opinions. Is engineered and produced by Laura Lavoie. The opinions of Bill are his and his alone, unless Laura shakes her head in agreement, and the opinions of Laura are hers unless Bill also agrees with her, and then they're both in agreement, I guess. Let's see. They're not the opinions of the advertisers who are not paying us a dime, and so don't hold them accountable for our mistakes. And be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Facebook, and tune in again next week at the same bat time. space bat time, for another exciting episode of Bill Has Opinions.
We will see you all next week. Wear green and join us in the conversation. We will see you all soon.